Showdowns in the Big 12 this week. We start with Christian Ralph, Locked On Kansas State, to discuss Arizona State and TCU. Now, here's my thinking in this game, Christian. I could have a ready-made soundbite to pick TCU to win. Josh Hoover is the best quarterback in this conference. I love Sawyer Robertson. By a fraction, I'm taking Josh Hoover. I'm a big Josh Hoover fan.
Yeah.
They have held TCU opponents to running the ball to the tune of 107 yards per game. I don't think Arizona State can just get here and bleed out the clock. Arizona State's pass defense, okay. It's been okay, 238 yards per game allowed this year. I come back to Arizona State because of what they did last week at Baylor. I think this is an incredibly confident group that on a short week is coming home. This is a slight favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel. Arizona State is a slight favorite over TCU. I think Arizona State wins the game, but man, this is about as coin flip as it gets in the Big 12 between two teams who are probably playing for their right to go to the Big 12 championship game.
I agree completely. Everything you just said, I agree completely. Josh Hoover is the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12, full stop. But what we have seen over the last couple weeks,
most underrated quarterback in the country.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I know we're talking Big 12 here, but I know it's a national college podcast. I agree with you 100%. You know, Sam Leavitt, what he has done in the last 2 weeks, it's like the Texas State game was a wake-up game after what happened in week 1 for Arizona State. I mean, he was doing things with the football that was absolutely insane. And then last week against Baylor was just nuts. They're back on the map, and they should be. I am super excited to watch this game here. I want to see how TCU's wide receivers are against this secondary. That's my biggest thing to pay attention to in this one with Josh Hoover, his wide receivers. The loss of Xavier Alford for Arizona State, how important is that for Arizona State's defense? But I'm with you. I think it's a coin flip, and I do also lean Arizona State by like a field goal.
Yeah, and the other reason that I'm confident here and why I picked Arizona State last week to beat Baylor is I trust their defense a little bit more, well, a lot more than Baylor's, and I'll say a little bit more than TCU's, because TCU's has clearly taken a step forward, and they've played some good football. I think stylistically, though, you watch Baylor and you watch TCU, a lot of similarities. They're going to throw the ball a lot because they have elite quarterbacks. And the Bears last week at home put up 24 points. So you give me short week on the road. I think even though I like Hoover a little more than Sawyer Robertson, not by a ton though, I think Sawyer Robertson's really, really good. I think you can hold TCU well under 30 points, probably in the 24 to 27 range. And so then it comes down to, do I think that Arizona State's offense coming back to Tempe, which should be absolutely on fire for a big game in this spot, do I think they get to the upper 20s? I do. I think Arizona State wins this game 28-23.
I'm a little higher than that. I think I look at the cover and I look at the spread. I don't want to touch either of those, but I love the over in this one at 54. That's what I personally love. I have it at 35-31. Arizona State still really close in this one, but I'm with you. I think it's definitely going to be a quarterback battle. When you look at, mentioned Josh Hoover, a legit NFL talent, underrated quarterback in the country, as you mentioned. I mean, top 10 in passing explosiveness so far this season. But on the flip side, as I mentioned, what Sam Leavitt has done so far this season, and it really started with those fantastic circus-like plays in Texas State a few weeks ago, he's just more dangerous. And he's actually more dangerous under pressure, is something that TCU does quite a lot.
Yeah, and I do wonder if he can find an option that isn't Jordan Tyson. Now, he's a tough guy to stop, 357 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns so far this year. Sam Leavitt has only thrown one other touchdown this year, so 5 have been to Jordan Tyson. You know that's where the ball is going to go, but I like Arizona State staff and the way that they have performed over the last couple of weeks. I don't think that Mississippi State loss was a blemish on the ASU resume, because they should be a top 25 team. I think that Mississippi State, as I talked about earlier on today's show, Christian, before you arrived, Mississippi State should be ranked. They beat a preseason top 12 team at home. It was a close game. And we think about this. We're literally one play away from Arizona State maybe being a top 10 team, being no lower than 11th in the country, because not only would they have beaten Mississippi State and have a 0 in the loss column, but with the win at Baylor, I think they would have backed up a lot of the hopes that people had for them coming into this season. Now, I didn't have them making the Big 12 championship game when this season kicked off. I thought that would be Texas Tech and your Kansas State Wildcats. Yeah, that's Nope, not gonna
We're
happen.
talking good games this week.
We're talking good games and good teams and whatnot. So I just think that Arizona State has been written off. And the other thing I couldn't get out of my head, Arizona State unranked, TCU ranked, Arizona State favored. That feels like a Vegas trap waiting to happen if you take TCU.
I don't know if it's the home game atmosphere, the Friday night hostile environment that makes them favorite. I'm not really sure. But what I do know is this feels like a mini playoff in itself, a mini elimination game already at the end of September. You lose this game, you're probably out of the contention for Arlington.
Yeah, I'm with you there because you lose a head-to-head with another team that's got a chance to go. It's not just getting upset and having a loss. I think that's a double whammy for why you wouldn't go. Speaking of those games, though, and a really interesting one that I don't think a lot of people or enough people are talking about in the country, Iowa State hosting Arizona this week. Really interesting measuring stick spot for the Wildcats here, who I identified after their first 2 games of the year against inferior opponents. Hey, this might be kind of a solid team. And is beating Kansas State indicative of a lot? Maybe not. But it's indicative of something. They now have an opportunity to ascend and be this year's Arizona State team. They go on the road to Ames to play Iowa State, and we know the Cyclones are a good team. They haven't always looked perfect this year. Struggled against, I don't even remember the name of the team. I looked up one day and went, wait a minute, why is that game even remotely close? But I think Iowa State is a good team. I had them preseason number 4 in my Big 12 power rankings coming into this year. Just one spot behind Kansas State. Sorry to keep reminding you of that. But I think there's a real opportunity for Arizona to prove that not only are they not a bottom dweller in the Big 12, which I think they have shown, but that they are more than just a middle tier team and could make a push to go to the Big 12 championship game, which sounds crazy when last year a lot of people were ready to move on from Brent Brennan. But guess what? Last year, Arizona State had a preseason win total of 4.5 off a 3-9 season, and they won the conference.
Yeah, Spencer, you've ate your Wheaties today because I'm definitely in agreement with you on a lot of the things you've said so far. I don't know. Maybe we have to check, or maybe we got to buy a lottery ticket together because there's a lot of crazy things going on right now. Maybe it's because the Mariners are clinched the playoffs. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But either way, this is what it should have been.
We worked it into the segment, everybody. The Mariners are going to the playoffs. Continue.
We made it happen. Noah Fafita should have his first real audition of the season, and without Tedatory McMillan for the first year, should have been last week against Kansas State. That should have been his first real audition. Obviously, that didn't happen. This is now going to be his first true test of the season without his top wide receiver from last year to finally say, can he be that quarterback that we all thought he could be, and see if that growth starts moving forward. I don't know if that happens. We'll see. I'm really interested. I've had the luxury, if you want to call it that, to be able to see both of these teams as an opponent already as the Kansas State host, watching Arizona, watching Iowa State. When I go back and look at both these games, of course, there was a monsoon in Dublin. That's one thing to worry about. And then the Arizona game just last Friday. I was more impressed with Iowa State's game and with their resume. And you talked about a team they thought they were struggling with. That was Arkansas State, just to put that on the record. Either way.
The Red Wolves.
The Red Wolves. Yeah, Sunbelt. Yes. There we go. I still think Iowa State is the team to beat here. But when you look at what Brett Brennan did so far this season, and arguably last week's game, even though it's a struggling Kansas State team, is the best win for Brett Brennan since he's been the head coach at Arizona. If he can continue that momentum, that's huge. I just don't think it happens again. Maybe kind of that backyard brawl kind of feel, what we got with West Virginia and Pitt that week right after. A little bit of a real super high against Kansas State, and you fall short against Iowa State. That's where I'm leaning right here. It's all about, to me, though, is the Arizona defense, what they can do. Arizona's defense has stepped up big time. Last season, 122nd in total defense. They're in the top 25 in that categories now. Their pressures are amazing. They blitz the second most in the Power 4. However, the pressures, when they do blitz, are struggling. It's down to 103rd nationally. If Rocco Beck can make sure he stops and doesn't have any issues with the blitz, because when he has standard rush, according to PFF, he's the 13th best quarterback in the country. But when blitzes happen, it goes all the way down to 71. If he can find a way to control the blitz, that offensive line and Rocco Beck, Iowa State take care of them easily.
I think Brent Brennan has had a really important start for himself coming into this season. There were legitimately calls amongst some segments of the Arizona fan base for him to be gone last year because of how good Arizona was in 2023 and then how bad they were a season ago with Noah Fafita still there. And he had to have this start to the season. This would be a seat cooler of gigantic proportions, I think, for Brent Brennan. I don't think he gets it in this spot as much as I do like what I've seen from Arizona. I think they can go well past just making a bowl game so far this year. But when you're going on the road to Ames, you know it's going to be difficult. Yes, you have to pressure Rocco Beck. I struggle to pick against the Cyclones at home in this spot. So I'll take Iowa State to win a good football game that is competitive, 31-23. I think Iowa State has enough in the tank to get it done. Look for those tight ends in the passing game. Iowa State uses them as well as anybody in all of college football, and they can be a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, those tight ends versus Arizona safeties like Genesis Smith will certainly be a fun matchup to watch. Genesis Smith was all over the field against Kansas State. He's a very fun football player just to watch football in general. He's fun. Kick back on the couch, watch that matchup. If Arizona can score 24 or more points, I think that's a win in itself for Brett Brennan and the rest of the crew, whether it's a win or a loss. I know we don't do, fun wins like that or, participation wins on this podcast. But in this case, I think 24 points is a good one thing to keep in mind, though, Spencer. I know we're heading out here soon. The special teams race is going to be interesting because Iowa State's down to their third kicker, a freshman walk-on kicker I believe his name is Chase Smith.
Did they pick him up in the Pat McAfee kicking contest?
It might be. But he's only had some kickoffs this year. A walk-on freshman, Chase Smith. Interesting stuff. I still think that Iowa State takes it. I'm close on your score. I'm going to go 31-17.